Hello once again, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
And welcome back again.
So you guys might have seen that we had an Israeli-owned ship that was sailing through the Gulf of Oman that was hit by an explosion and then, of course, basically blamed on the flock of seagulls.
That would make sense. I mean, what else could we expect?
And for those of you that don't know our code word, you remember that song, that great old one-hit wonder, I ran so far away?
Yep, by a flock of seagulls.
Couldn't get away.
Couldn't get away.
Yes. Anyway, we see that Israel, this is from Debka, weighs reprisal for the flock of seagulls rocket attack on the freighter in the context of U.S. and Gulf ties. And then we check out what's been going on today, too. It's a crazy world out there as we're waiting for this to load. And this doesn't want to load, so we're just, it was just basically a statement that Iran, I said it, the flock of seagulls, was saying you can't act with impunity. And that's what's happened. You know, a certain country, Israel, has basically done whatever they want pretty much when it comes to strikes, and there hasn't been any real retaliation. So we see there are reports that there is the IAF targeting flock of seagulls sites in Damascus in response to the attack on the ship on in the Gulf of Oman on Thursday. And, this has got to be creepy. Can you imagine being in a city and looking up and seeing missiles flying overhead?
No, I really can't. I hope I never do.
Anti-aircraft, going to take something out. I feel so bad for the Syrian people and the people of Damascus. There's been so many refugees created by these wars go on forever. When we're talking about Afghanistan, we're talking decades. First it was Russia and then it was us. And it's got to stop.
Mm-hmm. I know it's really unfortunate. It really does need to just cease.
The people of the world really need to demand change because the citizens don't want this. The average people don't want this. As you see, air defenses around Syria's capital activated as the Israel warplanes strike the area. But it's got some interesting twists here. And this is actually huge twist. Breaking, unconfirmed, multiple sources saying it though. It said that Russian planes took off against Israel, which did not obey the warnings of Russia and started the attack. And then there's others, saying that that's how the attack stopped. And we see that just yesterday, Russian forces brought new reinforcements to their military base near Qamishli Airport. And this is in northeast Syria. So they've been bringing more forces in. And we've talked about this in the past. You got Turkey there. Yeah, you do. And you have Russia, you have the U.S., and you have the Syrians themselves, you have the Iranians as well. And, it's just a mess.
Mm-hmm. It is, and it's just going to get messier, too. This is really concerning. Definitely worth watching.
Interesting, how we see so much new activity here in the new year along those lines, as we see many tweets talking about this. And, it's conflictory. I've seen reports saying that there hasn't really been anything that gotten through, and then some are saying multiple targets were hit. I haven't seen any footage of that actual, explosions or anything like that. Let's hope nobody was hurt.
Right. Absolutely, yes.
And you see Syria reporting Israeli missile attack near their capital. It's just amazing. And I think more of the world is picking up on the impunity where some countries just do whatever they want. And, it doesn't seem like any of the leadership of the world even remotely listens to their people.
No, they really don't.
They don't. It's horrible. You see Israel has launched hundreds of strikes against the flock of seagulls linked military targets in Syria over the years. And they really ever acknowledge or discuss the operations themselves. But I have never seen, and if it is true, that Russia scrambled planes to come to their support, I've never seen that. And that's a massive escalation.
It really is, and this is something that it's just curious, the timing. Once again, more timing.
As you see this tweet there, the Russian Air Force seems to have dispersed Israeli airplanes and stopped the aggression. It's the conclusion based on Russian Air Force movement. And many people, like Monkeyworks, follow all the planes, all the time. So we'll be getting more details on exactly what's, going on. And here you see Syrian government claims to have shot down Israeli missiles. Most definitely, Russia has been bringing in higher tech and really reinforcing the area big time.
Yeah, they have, and it's just something that's been building and building and building. That hasn't been paid very close attention to as far as the build is concerned. But now we got this.
But we go back to 2001. We go back to the events of September of that year, and then the just nonstop wars that never end. And think about all the people that have been affected. How many people's lives, it's just been misery and fleeing, these military actions from, we're talking Iraq, and we're also talking, obviously, Afghanistan and Syria. Those three countries, which also have a treasure trove of ancient artifacts, perhaps have a lot of ties to the real history that we are not told and that is covered up. I know obviously the thing people will look at is say it's all about resources, controlling the natural resources, controlling the black gold, et cetera, but I think there's a lot more to it than that as well. And some of our family members that have served over there have said before that they were ordered to eliminate certain relics. I mean, why? Well, because they might fall into the hand of the bad guys. Really? Statues? And different things like that?
I know, it's now become common knowledge that that's what they were doing. At one time it wasn't, but now we know they just don't want things to be known.
And, this obviously could be a huge escalation into a much bigger conflict. That if it is true that it was Russia that escalated them, then what's, the Mr. B admin going to do? And would this possibly turn into some sort of global conflagration, so to speak?
Yeah, it very well could.
So let's put it out there. Let's have everybody put their prayers and intentions out there. Send positive energy. Let's have the war machine be dismantled. Let's recognize it for what it is. And obviously, it's a very profitable business, and it also creates profits for other businesses down the line. There's a lot of need for prosthetics. There's a lot of need for people to go talk to a counselor, etc. And, then they're going to have a hard time keeping that together after they've been through war and conflict and horrors like this. And then they're damaged. Then they're off to get a script, to keep their mental facilities from blowing up, so to speak. You see how this goes. This creates a perpetual cycle of many different negative trajectories, emotional, spiritual, mental, physical, and also, it does create a huge revenue stream for certain industries, quite a few industries.
That's the most important thing to them.
Yes, as well as creating loosh, upon which certain entities enjoy feeding. So, again, let's pray that the people of the world will say, no more. We get what you're doing. We don't go along with it. And really, it's going to take people stopping joining the militaries, recognizing this and just, can you imagine if like all the soldiers around the world at the same time just had a realization and they just threw all their guns down and walked away?
That would be wonderful.
I know that's a stretch, but we have to put the intention out there. There has to be a place to start.
Yes, let's do that. The intention is so important.
Exactly. You guys remember Gladiator? Remember the movie Gladiator? And in the end, the emperor himself has to get out in there and do it. Frankie goes to Hollywood. 2 tribes go to war, right? well, let the old fat politicians go and duke it out instead of our kids and fathers and daughters and brothers and sons.
I think that's a brilliant idea.
Exactly. So thank you guys for being part of the family. Make sure you're subscribed. Thanks for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. If you need to reach us, it's evolutionaryenergyarts@gmail.com or EEARTS@protonmail.com. God bless. And Cindy's going to give us a tune.
God bless and namaste.
Namaste.